In the heart of the city, where the streets buzzed with the constant hum of life, people hurried past each other, each lost in their own world of worries, dreams, and ambitions. There was one street that seemed quieter than the rest, lined with small shops and humble businesses that had been there for decades, with a smell of fresh bread mixed with the faint aroma of coffee, and the chatter of customers added a warm, familiar rhythm to the day. It was here that a man, unlike anyone else on the street, made his presence felt without even trying, a millionaire known in the city not only for his immense wealth, but also for his peculiar habits, sudden appearances, and the strange challenges he sometimes gave to strangers just for the thrill of watching them struggle and succeed. That morning, the millionaire was wearing his usual crisp suit, his expensive shoes gleaming as he walked, yet somehow he blended into the crowd. Observing everything around him with a sharp, calculating eye, he noticed the people rushing by, the shopkeepers arranging their goods, and finally, something caught his attention. A black man standing behind a small counter of a tiny, unassuming store, meticulously arranging items while occasionally interacting with customers with a quiet, respectful smile. There was something about him, a subtle strength, a calm determination that made him stand out, even in a place where everyone seemed busy with their own lives. The black man, in his late 30s, had been working there for years, pouring his heart into the business, facing countless challenges from economic downturns to personal struggles, yet he never let them show on his face. Always polite, always ready to help, and always moving forward, it was clear to the millionaire that this was not a man who gave up easily, and that intrigued him. The millionaire had seen many people, many attempts at success and failure, but he had never encountered someone who seemed to carry both humility and strength in such a natural way. Curiosity got the better of him, and without warning, he approached the small shop, his steps slow but deliberate. The black man looked up, a mixture of surprise and caution crossing his face, as if sensing that something unusual was about to happen. The millionaire smiled, a charming yet slightly mischievous smile that immediately put the man on alert. "Good morning," the millionaire said, his voice calm but firm, carrying the kind of authority that made people listen without question. "I've been watching you for a while," he added, and though the words were simple, there was an intensity behind them that made the black man straighten up, wondering what this stranger meant. The millionaire continued, "There is something about the way you handle yourself, the way you work, and the way you face challenges that I haven't seen in a long time. Most people in this city would either complain, give up, or cut corners, but you keep going, and that deserves recognition." The black man, polite but cautious, nodded, unsure if this was a compliment, a trick, or something else entirely. He had heard stories about wealthy people who enjoyed testing ordinary people, sometimes cruelly, sometimes just for their amusement. He wasn't sure which this man was yet, but there was a spark of intrigue in his own heart, a curiosity he could not ignore. Then came the words that would change everything, words so bold that for a moment, the black man's mind went blank. "My company is yours if you can outpace me," the millionaire said, his eyes gleaming with a mixture of challenge and amusement. It was not a question. It was a statement, daring him, testing him, inviting him into a world he had never imagined. The black man blinked, trying to understand, trying to process the idea that this stranger was offering him a life-changing opportunity. "Outpace you? How?" he asked, his voice steady but tinged with disbelief. The millionaire leaned slightly closer, lowering his voice just enough for intrigue. "Not just in business, not just in money, but in mind, heart, and skill. I want to see if you have what it takes to move faster, think smarter, and endure more than I do." The words were electrifying, full of possibility and danger. The black man felt a surge of emotion, fear, excitement, doubt, and hope all at once. He had spent his life working hard, but the idea that someone like this millionaire would actually notice him, and even more, give him such an audacious challenge, was almost unbelievable. For a few long moments, neither spoke, the city's noises fading into the background as the two men sized each other up. There was a tension, a silent understanding, that this was the beginning of something extraordinary, something that could either break him or lift him to heights he had never dreamed of. The black man finally straightened, a spark of determination lighting his eyes. He did not know what lay ahead. He did not know the rules, and he did not know if he would succeed, but he knew one thing: he would not turn away from this challenge. Not now, not ever. And with that unspoken agreement, a new chapter began, one that neither man could predict, one filled with tests, surprises, and lessons that would change their lives forever. In that quiet street, amid ordinary shops and the hum of daily life, an extraordinary story was quietly taking root, ready to unfold in ways no one could have imagined. The millionaire's words hung in the air like an electric charge, filling the small shop with an energy that made the black man feel both exhilarated and uneasy. He could hear the faint clinking of coins from the cash register and the low murmur of customers outside. Yet all of it seemed distant compared to the challenge now resting on his shoulders. The millionaire looked at him intently, as if trying to measure every ounce of his courage, determination, and intelligence in a single glance. "I don't make this offer lightly," he said. "If you fail, you lose nothing, but if you succeed, you gain everything, including my company, everything I've built over decades." The black man's mind raced. This was not just a test of skill or speed. This was a test of character, endurance, and ingenuity. It was the kind of opportunity most people could only dream of, yet it carried the weight of an invisible scale, tipping toward success or failure with every decision. The millionaire, noticing the man's hesitation, leaned back slightly, a faint smirk on his face. "Here's how it works," he explained. "There will be a series of challenges, not just physical or mental, but a combination of everything. Business decisions, strategy, problem solving, even courage under pressure. Each task will test a different skill, and your ability to adapt will be more important than raw talent." The black man nodded slowly, his mind calculating, his curiosity now fully awakened. "And you'll watch me?" he asked, trying to hide the nervousness creeping into his voice. The millionaire chuckled softly, the sound rich and slightly intimidating. "Of course I'll watch. How else would I know if you're truly ready? But beware, I won't make it easy. Life rarely does, and I expect you to prove yourself at every step. No shortcuts, no excuses, just results." The black man's heart pounded. He thought about the years he had spent building his small business, the struggles he had overcome, the long nights filled with worry, and the quiet moments of triumph he had cherished. Yet this was something entirely different. This was a world of opportunity he had never imagined, a world that seemed glamorous and dangerous all at once. He took a deep breath, steadying himself, and finally said, "I accept. I'll take your challenge." The millionaire's eyes gleamed with approval. "Good," he said simply, as if that single word contained a universe of possibilities. "But understand this. The challenges will not only test your skills, they will test your mind, your patience, and your ability to stay calm under pressure. There will be obstacles you cannot anticipate, and moments when giving up seems easier than continuing. That is when true character is revealed." Over the next few days, the black man began preparing himself in ways he had never considered. He studied business strategies, practiced mental exercises to sharpen his focus, and trained his body to endure unexpected physical tasks. Every hour spent felt like a step closer to an invisible finish line, yet also a reminder of the stakes involved. The millionaire occasionally checked in, offering cryptic advice and observing quietly from a distance, creating an environment filled with tension, anticipation, and excitement. Word of the challenge began to spread quietly among the city's residents, whispered by those who had seen the millionaire at work. People were intrigued, some skeptical, but all were fascinated by the idea that an ordinary man might take on such a bold and audacious contest. The black man became a figure of quiet admiration, his determination and courage slowly becoming visible to everyone who watched. And yet, despite the growing attention, the black man knew that this challenge was not about impressing others. It was about proving something to himself, about discovering how far he could push his limits, about testing his resilience in ways that life had never required before. The millionaire, for his part, seemed to understand this, carefully crafting each challenge to reveal not only skill but heart, intelligence, and integrity. The tension between them was electric, A mix of respect, competition, and curiosity. Both men understood that the journey ahead would be unpredictable, full of surprises, failures, and victories that could come at the most unexpected moments. It was not just a test of speed or strength. It was a test of who they were at their core and who they could become. As the first challenge loomed, both men prepared themselves mentally and physically, aware that the game had already begun, not just in the city streets or the office boardrooms, but within their own minds. Their confrontation had started as a simple question, but it had quickly transformed into a life-changing journey, one that would reveal the unexpected, push boundaries, and change both their lives forever. The black man woke up the next morning with a mind buzzing with possibilities and a heart heavy with anticipation. He knew that accepting the Millionaire's challenge was not a casual decision. It was a commitment that could change his life forever. Every step he took now would be deliberate, every decision critical. He spent the early hours of the day walking through the city streets, observing the rhythm of life around him, and thinking about how he could prepare. He realized quickly that winning this challenge would require more than just courage or strength. It would require strategy, planning, and the ability to stay calm under pressure. He began with his mind, poring over books on business strategy, psychology, and problem solving. He read stories of great entrepreneurs, studied the way leaders made decisions under stress, and even practiced imagining difficult scenarios and how he would respond. It wasn't just about memorizing facts. It was about training his mind to think quickly, creatively, and wisely when the unexpected struck. He knew the Millionaire would not make things easy, and he had to be ready for anything. Next, he focused on his body, because he had a feeling the challenges might not be purely mental. He ran through the city parks early in the morning, feeling the cold air fill his lungs, and imagined himself facing obstacles, needing to act fast and move efficiently. He practiced endurance, speed, and agility, not because he loved running, but because he understood that preparation could mean the difference between success and failure. Every drop of sweat was a reminder that he was investing in his future, building strength not just in his muscles, but in his confidence. He also sharpened his social skills, knowing that intelligence alone would not be enough. Some challenges might involve persuasion, negotiation, or even teamwork. He began observing people more closely, listening to conversations, noticing body language, and imagining how he could read situations quickly. The city became his classroom. Every interaction a lesson in understanding human behavior, adaptability, and patience. Despite all his preparation, he never lost sight of the uncertainty of the challenge. He reminded himself constantly that the Millionaire was unpredictable, clever, and observant. That meant he could not rely solely on his own knowledge or plans. He would need to adapt at every step, think on his feet, and stay focused no matter how surprising the challenge became. This mental flexibility became just as important as physical fitness or business knowledge. As days turned into a week, the black man developed a routine that balanced study, exercise, and observation. His small apartment transformed into a hub of planning and practice, charts on walls, notes scattered on tables, and reminders everywhere that preparation was not just about doing. It was about thinking, analyzing, and anticipating. The more he prepared, the more he felt a quiet excitement building inside him, a sense that he was ready to face something extraordinary. The Millionaire occasionally appeared in unexpected ways, checking in without warning, giving cryptic advice, or just observing from a distance. The black man learned quickly that every glance, every word, and every small action from the Millionaire could carry meaning, teaching him lessons about patience, awareness, and reading between the lines. The tension between them grew, not as hostility, but as mutual understanding, both aware that this challenge was not just about winning. It was about growth, insight, and discovering hidden strengths. One evening, while reviewing his notes, the black man realized something important. The challenge was more than a test of skills. It was a journey into his own potential. He had spent years working hard, but now he had to push himself beyond comfort, beyond doubt, and beyond fear. He smiled to himself, feeling a spark of determination. This was no longer just about a company or a bet. It was about proving to himself that he could rise to extraordinary circumstances. By the end of the week, he was ready, though he knew readiness was only the beginning. Not every challenge could be planned for. Not every obstacle could be anticipated. Yet he felt a quiet confidence, the kind that comes from preparation, effort, and belief in one's own abilities. He had trained his mind, body, and spirit, and now he waited, alert and patient, for the first test to begin. In those quiet moments before the challenge started, he realized something profound. Winning would not come from luck or bravado, but from a combination of insight, persistence, and the courage to face the unexpected. He felt ready not just to compete, but to grow, to learn, and to transform, knowing that each step forward would bring him closer to a future he had never imagined, and perhaps closer to a destiny only the bold could reach. The day of the first test arrived quietly, almost unnoticed by the busy city around them. But for the black man, every second was alive with tension and anticipation. He stepped out of his small apartment, feeling the morning sun warm his face, and thought about everything he had done to prepare. Every run, every book, every note, every late-night reflection. It all led to this moment. The millionaire was waiting, standing near a sleek black car that gleamed under the sunlight, his expression calm, but his eyes sharp, observing with a mix of amusement and seriousness. The black man approached, trying to steady his heartbeat, feeling a strange mix of fear and excitement. The millionaire greeted him with a small nod and handed him a sealed envelope. "This is your first challenge," he said, his voice carrying the weight of authority. "Open it and read carefully." The black man took a deep breath, breaking the seal with trembling fingers, and read the instructions. His eyes widened slightly as he realized this was no ordinary task. It was a combination of physical endurance, mental agility, and quick thinking, a test designed not just to measure his abilities, but to push him beyond his limits. The challenge required him to navigate through the city, solving a series of puzzles hidden in unexpected locations, each one testing his intelligence, observation skills, and decision-making under pressure. At the same time, he would face tasks demanding speed, stamina, and precision. The black man understood immediately that failure was not an option if he wanted to keep pace with the millionaire, who would be watching his every move, assessing not just whether he could complete the challenge, but how he handled stress, uncertainty, and surprises. He set off, moving swiftly through narrow alleyways, crowded streets, and quiet parks, each location revealing a puzzle or a physical obstacle. At the first stop, he had to decipher a code hidden in a mural on the wall, his mind racing as he connected patterns, letters, and symbols. The pressure was immense, knowing that every second counted, but his preparation had sharpened his mind, and he solved the puzzle faster than he had imagined, feeling a rush of confidence and relief. As he moved to the next location, a park filled with children playing and joggers passing by, he faced a physical obstacle. A series of hurdles and balance beams set up across the field, designed to test agility, coordination, and endurance. The black man focused, recalling his early morning runs and training exercises, carefully calculating each step, each jump, and each landing. His muscles burned, his lungs heaved, but he pushed forward, refusing to slow down, refusing to doubt himself. Along the way, he encountered distractions, a sudden rain shower, a group of curious onlookers, and even a small street dog that ran alongside him, adding an unexpected challenge. Yet he adapted quickly, keeping his focus, ignoring the distractions, and moving with determination. He realized that the challenge was teaching him something more than puzzles or physical tasks. It was teaching him resilience, patience, and the ability to stay calm when the unexpected appeared. At the final location, he faced a mental puzzle that seemed almost impossible, a combination of logic, strategy, and intuition. Many would have frozen under the pressure, but the black man drew on every lesson he had learned over the past week. Using observation, deduction, and creative thinking, slowly, steadily, he solved it, feeling a thrill unlike anything he had experienced before. The sense of accomplishment was powerful, not because he had finished, but because he had done so while maintaining focus, clarity, and determination under immense pressure. When he returned to the starting point, the millionaire was waiting, leaning casually against his car, a faint smile on his face. "Impressive," he said simply, and those single words carried more weight than 1,000 praises. "You handled the challenge well, not just because you completed it, but because of the way you approached it, the way you adapted, and the way you kept your calm." The black man felt a surge of pride, a quiet but deep satisfaction, realizing that the first test had not just measured his skill, it had revealed his character. As the sun began to set over the city, painting the streets in golden light, the black man understood that this was only the beginning. The challenges ahead would be harder, stranger, and more unpredictable. But he now had confidence that he could face them. That first test had not just tested his mind and body, it had awakened a sense of possibility, a realization that he was capable of far more than he had ever imagined. And with that thought, he prepared himself for the journey ahead, ready to confront whatever the millionaire would throw at him next, knowing that the unexpected could come at any moment. The days after the first test passed in a blur of anticipation and quiet reflection. The black man found himself replaying every detail in his mind, analyzing what had gone right and what could have gone better. He understood now that the millionaire's challenges were not just about speed or skill. They were about observation, adaptability, and endurance. Every mistake, every hesitation, every sudden decision could shift the balance. And he knew the next challenge would push him even further. Word of the contest began to spread quietly through the city. Whispers of the black man's daring and determination reaching the ears of curious onlookers and friends alike. Some admired him, some doubted him, and some simply watched, waiting for the inevitable stumble. But he did not care about their opinions. He knew that this was his path, one that demanded focus, courage, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. The millionaire remained an ever-present shadow, appearing when least expected, his watchful eyes seeming to see through every action. Every interaction between them now carried unspoken tension, a mixture of respect, challenge, and quiet rivalry. The black man began to notice subtle changes in the millionaire's behavior. A raised eyebrow here, a quiet nod there, each small gesture hinting at what might be coming, yet never revealing enough to make the path easy. The second challenge arrived without warning, thrusting him into a world that demanded even greater creativity and determination. This time, it involved a complex negotiation with several business associates the millionaire had carefully chosen, people who were persuasive, cunning, and unrelenting. Their goal was simple on the surface: convince them of a deal, yet hidden within the task were traps designed to test honesty, strategy, and intuition. The black man had a carefully balanced charm, intelligence, and observation, knowing that one wrong word could cost him dearly. As he navigated the negotiations, he faced subtle deceptions, false promises, and sudden shifts in the demands. Every move required thought and patience. Every glance, tone, and gesture mattered. He felt his heart race, his mind spinning. Yet he drew on the lessons he had learned during preparation, remembering that success would come not from rushing or forcing outcomes, but from careful planning and adaptability. At the same time, physical endurance was being tested in the background. The millionaire had designed simultaneous tasks that required him to move between locations quickly, sometimes carrying items, sometimes performing precise actions, often under conditions that were intentionally uncomfortable. Hot sun, crowded streets, and even sudden obstacles challenged his focus and energy, yet he adapted, using mental clarity to guide physical movements, every decision calculated, every step deliberate. Despite the growing pressure, the black man began to notice subtle changes in himself. A confidence that was quiet but unwavering grew inside him. He no longer reacted impulsively to obstacles. Instead, he analyzed, planned, and executed. His mind seemed sharper, his instincts keener, and his courage deeper than he had ever imagined. The challenges were transforming him in ways he hadn't anticipated, teaching lessons that no ordinary work or life experience ever could. The millionaire, observing from a distance, allowed the test to unfold naturally, rarely intervening, yet always present in subtle ways. The black man could feel the weight of his gaze, a silent challenge and evaluation, and it pushed him further, forcing him to strive beyond what he thought possible. A quiet tension developed between them, a strange mix of rivalry and respect, each aware that the other was growing, evolving, and learning through the process. By the end of the day, after hours of mental strain and physical exertion, the black man returned to the starting point, exhausted but exhilarated. He had faced deception, exhaustion, and pressure unlike anything he had encountered before. Yet he had succeeded, not just because of skill, but because of focus, patience, and the ability to adapt when things went wrong. The millionaire greeted him with a faint smile, a small nod, and a simple statement. You are learning quickly. But the road ahead will test more than your speed or intellect. It will test your courage, your heart, and your resilience in ways you cannot yet imagine. Those words, calm yet loaded with weight, settled in the black man's mind, reminding him that the challenges were far from over, that the tension would continue to rise, and that each step forward was only the beginning of something much larger, something unpredictable, something life-changing. As night fell over the city, the black man sat quietly in his apartment, reflecting on the day, aware that the stakes were growing higher. The tension was no longer just in the challenge itself. It had seeped into his thoughts, his emotions, and his very being, preparing him, shaping him, and pushing him toward the unexpected. He knew the next stage would be harder, stranger, and more demanding. Yet he felt ready. For the first time, fully aware that the challenge was not just about winning. It was about discovering who he truly was under pressure. The morning of the next challenge arrived like any other, calm on the surface but charged with an invisible tension. The black man awoke with the memory of the previous day's exhaustion still fresh. Yet he felt a strange anticipation, a pull that he couldn't ignore. The millionaire had promised something different today, though neither words nor gestures had hinted at what it could be. He dressed quickly, heart pounding, and made his way to the agreed meeting spot, a quiet open square in the city center. When he arrived, the millionaire was already there, leaning casually against a sleek car, his usual expression calm, but his eyes sharp, gleaming with amusement and something unreadable beneath. Today, he said, voice low but carrying authority, the rules will change. The black man blinked, uncertainty creeping into his mind. Change how? He asked, though he already sensed the answer would test him in ways he hadn't imagined. The millionaire handed him a sealed envelope, thicker than the others, almost heavy with purpose. Open it, he instructed, and remember, nothing is as it seems. The black man broke the seal with steady fingers, unfolding the paper inside, and his eyes widened in surprise. The challenge was unlike any he had faced before, a combination of mental, physical, and moral tests, designed not only to measure his skill, but to challenge his instincts, ethics, and trust. Immediately, he noticed something unusual. One part of the task required him to rely on strangers, people he didn't know, some of whom seemed intentionally misleading, others clearly honest. The test would not only gauge his intelligence or speed, but also his ability to read human nature, make split-second moral decisions, and adapt to unexpected variables. The city itself became a maze of puzzles, each corner hiding a new test, each person potentially a guide or a trap. As he navigated the first few steps, confusion set in. Small obstacles appeared in ways he had not anticipated, a delivery even blocking a key route, a sudden commotion in a crowded street, even a random passerby offering advice that seemed helpful but led him in circles. It was frustrating, and for a moment, he questioned whether he could handle the uncertainty. The pressure was heavier than before, and the stakes felt almost unbearable. But then, a realization struck him. The unexpected twists were not designed to punish him. They were designed to reveal him. The millionaire wanted to see not just how fast or smart he could be, but how he would think under unpredictable conditions, how he would maintain composure, integrity, and focus when nothing went as planned. With this understanding, the black man shifted his approach. slowing slightly to observe, listening more carefully, trusting his instincts, and analyzing each action before committing. The day unfolded like a puzzle inside a storm, each twist more surprising than the last. A locked door with a cryptic riddle, a sudden physical task requiring strength and balance, a moral decision that would affect how a stranger reacted to him. The black man adapted, drawing on all the preparation, training, and mental clarity he had built over the past weeks. Every challenge tested more than ability. It tested character, patience, and creativity under pressure. By mid-afternoon, exhaustion weighed on him, his muscles aching, his mind fatigued, yet the thrill of the unexpected pushed him onward. The city seemed alive, each street corner, each passerby, and each small sound carrying significance. He had learned to notice subtle cues, a glance, a hesitation, the tone of voice, all guiding him through the maze of challenges. The sense of tension was constant, an invisible thread linking him to the millionaire's watchful eyes. At the final stage, an unexpected choice awaited. He had to decide whether to take a shortcut that seemed faster but morally questionable or continue the longer, honest path. He hesitated, feeling the weight of decision, aware that the millionaire was watching, measuring not just success but the manner in which it was achieved. With a deep breath, he chose the honest path, trusting his judgment and character, and it paid off, unlocking the final clue with surprising speed. When he returned to the starting point, the millionaire was waiting, his calm expression hiding a spark of admiration. This was not just about skill, he said quietly. It was about who you are when nothing goes as expected, when the rules change, when the world shifts beneath you. What do? You chose wisely. You adapted. You revealed strength I had not yet seen. The black man felt a surge of pride and relief, realizing that the unexpected twists were not obstacles. They were lessons, shaping him, testing him, preparing him for even greater challenges ahead. As the sun dipped behind the buildings, casting long shadows across the square, he understood something profound. Life, like the challenges, would never be predictable, and success would belong to those who could face the unexpected with courage, patience, and integrity. The day had been exhausting, humbling, and exhilarating all at once, and he knew the journey was far from over. But for the first time, he felt ready to embrace whatever came next, ready to confront challenges no one could anticipate. The morning air was crisp, carrying a quiet tension that seemed to settle over the city like a heavy blanket. The black man felt it deep in his bones, a mixture of anticipation, fear, and determination that pulsed with every heartbeat. Today was not like the previous challenges. He could feel it, as if the city itself had been holding its breath, waiting to witness the final test. The millionaire was already present, standing in the middle of an open plaza, hands clasped behind his back, eyes scanning the surroundings as if measuring not the environment, but the black man himself. The final challenge was announced with a calm, yet commanding voice. This is it. Everything you have learned, every skill, every lesson, every ounce of courage will be tested today. The rules are simple, but the task is complex. You must navigate through a sequence of obstacles, mental, physical, and moral, while achieving objectives that will reveal not only your abilities but the depth of your character. The black man listened intently, nodding slowly, his mind already racing through strategies, plans, and contingencies. The first obstacle was a complex puzzle that required him to analyze data, recognize patterns, and make decisions under extreme time pressure. The black man's fingers moved quickly across papers, notes, and devices, connecting clues, testing possibilities, and narrowing down the solution. Each second was precious, yet he remained focused, steady, and deliberate, recalling the countless hours of preparation, mental exercises, and observation he had undertaken. The puzzle revealed the first key, unlocking the next stage of the challenge. The second stage was physical, a course set across rooftops, narrow ledges, and uneven surfaces, demanding speed, balance, and endurance. The black man's body strained as he leapt, climbed, and sprinted, muscles screaming and lungs burning. Yet he moved with a surprising grace, each step precise, each movement calculated. He drew on the training he had done in the mornings, the runs through parks and streets, the strength he had built gradually, letting instinct guide him where calculation alone could not. Then came the moral test, subtle yet profound. The black man encountered a series of scenarios involving strangers, each presenting an opportunity to take the easier route at the expense of honesty, empathy, or fairness. The millionaire had designed these situations to reveal character under pressure, to test not just skill but integrity. He paused at each choice, weighing consequences, observing reactions, and finally making decisions guided by principles rather than expedience. Every choice reinforced a quiet strength he hadn't fully recognized in himself. The final phase combined everything, mental acuity, physical endurance, and moral judgment, into a single, intense trial. The black man had to solve a puzzle while navigating obstacles and making critical decisions about people and situations around him. It was chaos and challenge all at once. And for a moment, he felt the weight of impossibility pressing down. But then, something shifted. He realized that this was no longer just a test of ability. It was a test of mindset, resilience, and heart. The black man found a rhythm, a balance between calculation and instinct, action and reflection, speed and thought. Every step, every decision, every movement built toward the moment he had been preparing for. He reached the final point, a small platform in the center of the plaza, and completed the last puzzle, making the last moral choice with clarity and confidence. Exhaustion washed over him. Yet it was accompanied by a rush of exhilaration, the sense of having pushed beyond limits, of having faced every challenge, obstacle, and temptation was intoxicating, and he felt a profound pride swell within him. The millionaire stepped forward, breaking the silence. "You have done it," he said, voice calm but powerful, eyes reflecting respect and surprise. "Not only have you completed every task, but you have done so with intelligence, courage, and integrity." The final test was not about who was faster, stronger, or smarter. It was about who you truly are when everything is at stake. The black man, chest heaving, nodded slowly, the weight of accomplishment settling over him like sunlight after a storm. A quiet smile spread across the millionaire's face. "You have earned more than my respect. You have earned the opportunity, the knowledge, and the trust to shape the future of this company, not just through skill, but through the strength of your character." The plaza seemed to glow in that moment, the city quiet, as if acknowledging the completion of a journey that had tested mind, body, and heart. For the black man, it was more than a victory and a challenge. It was a revelation, a moment of transformation. He realized that success was not only about winning. It was about growth, courage, and the ability to face the unexpected with resolve. The millionaire extended a hand, and in that gesture, recognition, respect, and opportunity converged, marking the end of the challenge and the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with promise, responsibility, and the kind of life-changing potential that only comes to those willing to rise to the ultimate test. The black man stood in the quiet plaza, the city humming around him, but in that moment, it felt as if time itself had paused. Each breath he took seemed deeper, each sound sharper, as though the world was allowing him a moment to truly absorb everything that had happened. The journey had been exhausting, intense, and full of uncertainty, yet he felt an overwhelming sense of clarity, pride, and transformation. He had faced tests that had challenged his mind, body, and heart, and emerged not just victorious, but changed. The millionaire approached slowly, his expression calm but thoughtful. "This journey was never just about my company," he said, his voice carrying the weight of truth and experience. "It was about discovering what you are truly capable of, about testing character, perseverance, and integrity under conditions that few would dare to face. You have proven yourself, not only to me, but to yourself. And that is the greatest reward of all." The black man listened, realizing that these words were more valuable than any material inheritance, more profound than any promise of wealth or power. In the days that followed, he stepped into his new role with a mixture of excitement and humility. The company was now in his hands. But the real change had already occurred within him. He approached every decision with confidence, tempered by wisdom, and guided not only by ambition, but by empathy, insight, and strategic thinking. The lessons from the challenges, the need for patience, adaptability, integrity, and courage, became the foundation for how he ran the business, shaping its future in ways that reflected not just financial success, but meaningful impact. The city itself seemed to acknowledge the transformation. The people who had once watched from the sidelines now observing with admiration and respect. Yet for the black man, it was not recognition from others that mattered. It was the knowledge that he had faced the unexpected, overcome fear, and grown stronger because of it. That understanding carried with it a quiet confidence, a sense of peace that comes from knowing you are capable of rising to any challenge. He also realized the personal growth he had achieved was invaluable. The challenges had forced him to confront doubt, frustration, and fear, yet they had also revealed reserves of creativity, resilience, and courage he had never fully recognized. He had learned that success is rarely measured by speed or skill alone, but by how one navigates the twists, turns, and unpredictability of life. By embracing the unexpected, he had unlocked a potential that extended far beyond any business, beyond wealth, and beyond recognition. The millionaire remained a presence in his life, no longer as a challenger, but as a mentor and observer, offering guidance when needed, but also allowing him to lead, make mistakes, and learn. Their relationship had transformed from a test of speed and skill into a partnership built on mutual respect, understanding, and shared vision. The black man had earned more than a company. He had earned trust, opportunity, and the insight to shape a future on his own terms. Friends, family, and colleagues noticed the difference almost immediately. His confidence was evident, but it was tempered with humility and thoughtfulness. His decisions were deliberate, his leadership inspiring, and his approach to challenges methodical yet daring. He had become not only a successful entrepreneur, but a symbol of perseverance and adaptability, someone who could rise above obstacles, think creatively under pressure, and lead with integrity. As he reflected on the journey, he understood one profound truth. Life would always bring unexpected tests, moments of doubt, and challenges beyond imagination. Yet success, growth, and transformation came to those who faced them with courage, preparation, and character. He had learned that opportunity often appears disguised as a challenge, and that the ability to embrace the unknown, to outpace fear and uncertainty, defines who a person truly is. Standing in his office, overlooking the city that had witnessed the beginning of this incredible journey, he smiled. Thinking of the first day, the millionaire had spoken those unforgettable words, "My company is yours if you can outpace me." Those words had been the spark, the test, and ultimately, the gateway to a life transformed, a life no longer defined by limitation, doubt, or fear, but by courage, wisdom, and the unshakable knowledge that when faced with the unexpected, he could rise, adapt, and triumph. And so, the story ended not just with victory in a challenge, but with the birth of a new life, a new leader, and a man forever changed by the extraordinary journey, ready to embrace every twist, turn, and surprise the world had to offer, knowing that he was capable of more than he had ever imagined.